strategic doing, one of our credos is we talk about doing the doable. And what we really try to focus on are small groups that can take things through a design thinking process. You can come up with a great opportunity or challenge that you would like to solve. You think about particular solutions, and then you prototype and test out that prototype. And again, that seems very simple, but it's about starting small to actually make progress towards something. I feel that a lot of us, when we think about, oh my gosh, there could be so many opportunities, we can easily get into analysis paralysis, right? Okay, there's too much. There's just too much. Now I don't even know what to do. So strategic doing, we say, let's scale it back. Let's focus on doing the doable and focus on, again, a really iterative process. You're not going to get it right the first time. So go in with the mindset of I'm testing small things with a group of colleagues or people I collaborate with, and we will find a solution by making constant small adjustments to our prototype or a pilot project along the way. So there's 4 major questions that drive that. We're just focusing on the first one today. What could we be doing? In strategic doing, we go from what could we be doing? We narrow that down to what should we be doing? What will we be doing? And then what's our 30-30? And again, we're just going to focus on the first question today. What could we be doing? That's going to help us really think about different opportunities we might have based on the great knowledge, resources, experience of those who are here with us in this virtual group today. So many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with strategic plans. You might have done strategic planning in the past. And one thing that I wanted to point out was in strategic doing, we want to think differently. We want to have small projects or pilots that, again, we're constantly testing out. Is this the solution? Is this going to solve, the problem that I set out to solve? Oftentimes with a strategic planning or an older style of a strategy, you think for a very long time before you actually do something. Now, I'm not saying research or thinking, being really thoughtful is bad. Instead, we want to, again, get away from the analysis paralysis and start doing something. We want to focus on doing something small and iterating on that particular project. Which leads me to collaboration. We have a lot of great people in this Zoom session with us here today, and we really want to think about how all of us could potentially work together to create maybe something new. So when we talk a lot about networks in strategic doing, 6 degrees of separation is something that comes up. I think we often can all relate to that concept of, I might know somebody who's an expert in a particular area in the Arctic, and I might have another colleague that really wants to connect with that person. And through me, through my network, they're really able to both grow professionally or maybe have a great project come out of it. Our networks are really, really critical to moving projects forward. So what we really want to be thinking about is the networks that we all have and the assets that we all have and how we might be able to bring those to bear or share those with our group today within a particular area that you choose. Again, there's going to be 4 breakout rooms. So what we want to be thinking about is what assets do you have that you're willing to share, of course. You don't have to share anything, but we encourage everybody to think about something that is in their network. That could be your social network, that could be your research, that could be particular skill sets that you have, and how you could maybe use those to help move a project forward. As I mentioned, again, it's pretty shocking, I think, when we bring together our assets and really link them up and the projects that can come out of that. The reason that we talk about focusing on assets and strategic doing is, sometimes we've all been through those fun brainstorming activities where you think of all these different ways you could solve a particular problem. But then at the end, you come down to, well, yeah, if I had all the money in the world, or I had all the time in the world, if I had all these different things, that can be fun, but very frustrating, right? Because you're like, well, I want to take action. I don't want to just stay here in this brainstorming phase. I want to move forward. So we flip that narrative a little bit and instead focus on what assets do we have? What do we have here in the room, again, virtual room, that we could actually help move a project forward? And it's been really interesting over the last few years as a strategic doing practitioner, the amount of affinity and assets that we have within our networks that we don't always think about. Again, these are things that it could be your social network, Alaska, there's a lot of overlap within the research community and the entrepreneurship community. And it's really important to think about how you might be able to bring that to bear to help a project move forward. I always give the example of, you know, I had a professor that I was working on a particular project. She had this contact that was really knowledgeable, and she said, you know, I'll send her a quick email. I'll do a quick email intro. That took her 5 minutes, and I was able to move on with my master's thesis really considerably. And it's something small. It was somebody within her network. It was a small ask that, or excuse me, it was a small thing she was able to do for me that was I was able to then move my project forward considerably. So there's not, there's just an extensive amount of network power that we have here. And that's what we really want to focus on today. That's how we move from that analysis paralysis stage to moving forward, is focusing on the assets we have within this particular group. So I want to pause there. And I wanted to take us over. If there's any questions, please feel free to throw them into the chat. But I wanted to take us into a brainstorming activity. Some of you might have done this activity before. If not, it is really a way to get us thinking about how we can, again, take things that we've already seen or that we're familiar with and maybe put them together in new ways. This is a fun activity because there's no wrong answers. It's really about putting together things that you already know or are familiar with and trying to come up with new creative, fun ways to really put those together. So this is an example here. What we're gonna have everybody do is take out your cell phone, open up another browser on your iPad or computer that you're on, and go to menti.com, MENTI.com. And then you'll put in that code up at the top, which is 84191454, and I'll keep that code up at the top. So we're going to spend just a couple of minutes here and we're going to do a fun mashup activity. What's great about this is often, again, sometimes people are like, I'm not really that creative. And I say that's not true, that we can all come up with fun new solutions. They can be totally silly. That's okay. It's getting our brain thinking about how to act creatively. So in this particular example, thanks, Nolan. The question for this particular one was, how might we increase the membership of a local garden club? So they had two different lists: elements of a garden club, and then elements of an exposition, like a party or some type of big event. And they told everybody go. And people would pick one or two different elements, usually one from category 1, one from category 2, and then just create something fun and new. So over on the right side, you'll see something like they put together the number 1, which is meetings, and the letter A, which was publicity. And they came up with a fun idea of the garden club should publicize its meetings in local newspapers and community bulletins and invite anybody who's interested. Another one was 12D, which is meeting new people and experts, and said the garden club should hold a tour of the best gardens for interested members, and it could act as guides. So the idea is they're trying to brainstorm new ways of moving forward towards growing their garden club. And this was a fun activity to kind of get them thinking about different ways in which they could do that. So I'm going to have you all go to menti.com. And this is, again, just a fun brainstorming activity. My question is, how might a design team take risks and create innovative designs? So I want you all to go to menti.com, type in the code, and then pull together one thing from category 1, one thing from category 2. I'm going to go over those in just a second. What happens when you pull up Menti is you'll be able to put in a title and then like a quick 1-sentence description. So for example, this was another one that we came up with. Things designers need or use to stimulate creativity: time, boredom, music, motivation. There's a bunch of good ones on there. And then our fun category is the best things about Halloween: parties, candy, dressing up. I don't actually like scary movies, but scary movies, some people really like that. Ghost stories. So what I want you to do to kind of practice this mashup activity is take out your phone or go to menti.com and simply pull two together and create a new idea. There's no wrong answers. Put two new ideas together. You could talk about deadlines and carving pumpkins, maybe some kind of a fun pumpkin carving contest. You could talk about distractions in scary movies. Whatever you want to do, take one from each, or you could take two from each, and put it together to create a new idea. So I'm going to set a timer for about 3 minutes. There's no wrong answers, and I'm going to show the answers in just a second. So go ahead and get started. All right, you have about another minute and a half to keep coming up with some stuff, and then I'm going to show some of the fun answers that we got. There's no wrong answers. The idea is trying to create something new out of two existing things. All right, we've got just about 20 seconds here. I'm starting to see some really fun answers. Music candy. I like this one about taking crisp walks to stimulate inspiration when it's crisp outside. I would agree with that. If I've been trying to take more walks lately to take full advantage of the beautiful sunlight, and they are definitely crisp. I think it was about 4 degrees this morning. Boredom brainstorming parties. That sounds fun. There's actually some great information about being bored is really healthy for you, as many of us have been obviously working remotely. So lots of really fun and exciting ideas in there. Music spices. Yeah, there's some fun ones. I think that what's really cool about that activity is, again, oftentimes people say, oh, I'm not really creative. And I'm saying, you don't know. What we really believe is that everybody's bringing a very different perspective and education, and that's what really helps stimulate creativity. You bring a really special lens about thinking about the world or particular problems, and that's what really can often create innovative and new opportunities. So I'm going to pull my screen back up here, if you'll bear with me for just a moment. Okay. So as I mentioned, we are going to be doing 4 breakout rooms, the 4 different topics that we've come up with. Now I apologize, these are abbreviated a little bit just because you run out of space on Zoom to name them. So we tried to condense the 4 topics that have been discussed over the last 2 days. These were the 4 groups that we came up with. You will be able to select into a group that is of interest to you. First group is balancing environmental risks and possibilities. Second group is advancing the Arctic economy. Third group is ensuring human security. And fourth group is technological gaps and opportunities. And so, again, we're going to let you choose which group you would like to go into in just a moment, just a few minutes. But first, I wanted to review the tools that we are going to be using here today. And again, thank you everybody for participating in Menti. I find that's a really fun way to engage people over Zoom. So some of the tools that we're going to be using today are, the main one is called Jamboard. And for those of you who are not familiar with Jamboard, it is a tool through the Google suite of tools. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate what we're going to be doing in those groups. So not to worry, you don't have to create it or anything. We will be sharing links for each particular group. Jamboard is meant to act as a whiteboarding tool. I will say that I'm so thankful to be here today. Thankful people are safe, but I really do miss getting to meet with people in person and do brainstorming activities. There's a lot of fun. Nolan, actually, one of my favorite slides when he's talked about ideation was he said, sticky notes are just fun, right? It's fun to write things out. You have a lot of different colors. There's some really interesting psychology behind that. So we are trying to mimic that the best that we can virtually. So it's a whiteboarding tool. It's fairly simple, and I wanted to go over how it works if you are not familiar. So for example, we are looking at group number 1. So up in the top left corner, we have the group name, which is balancing environmental risks and possibilities. And then there are 4 slides. You can see up here in the top middle, it says 1.
Margaret, it looks like we lost your voice.
Are you able to hear me now?
I have you back, yes.
Okay, I apologize. My internet just said I was unstable, which I will try to get that rectified in just a moment. Thank you, Church. Okay. So for this first activity, it says up in the top right corner, step 1, it's silent brainstorming. Obviously, silent kind of happens when you're on Zoom. The idea behind silent brainstorming typically is that oftentimes people think better when there's not somebody talking. They need quiet to be able to process. So I know that it's going to naturally be silent because we're all on Zoom, but the idea was we wanted people to work by themselves for a couple of minutes to create sticky notes. So we wanted you to talk or think through assets that you'd be willing to share. And in this left corner over here, I have some examples of assets, physical assets, such as a business incubator, a large kitchen, computers or specialized equipment. Those might be physical assets that you have that you'd be willing to share with the particular breakout room that you're in. Skills assets, web design. My example of skill asset is I have a design thinking certification. I really, really enjoy doing this type of work. And I'm happy to share the tools that I've learned on how we can use different ideation techniques and frameworks to really help bring about great new opportunities or new startups. So that would be a skills asset that I'm willing to share. Social assets, again, networks are huge. Specific networks you're a part of. Maybe if you have a large family and they have, own a couple of businesses or what have you, social assets. And then capital assets. That could be things like funding. It could also be sometimes staff time. So again, there's no wrong answers for this. What we wanted was each person to, one idea per sticky note, you would write, as I have an example here, the type of asset it is. So I said skills asset. Mine is a design thinking certification. And then I put my name on there. So for those of you, when you enter the Jamboard, there's a toolbar right over here. The only one you will really be needing is the fourth one down. If you hover over it, it says sticky note and the icon looks somewhat like a sticky note. So when you click on it, this is what will pop up. You can change the colors. You can do anything that you would like, type in your information. And then as soon as you hit save, it will pop up somewhere on the Jamboard. What's great is that all of you in that small breakout group will be able to be doing this simultaneously. When you have said, okay, I've written enough sticky notes, you can hit cancel, and then it'll take you back out to the board and you can move them around as you like. If you click on it, you'll see there are 4 dots on the corners. You can make them much smaller. You can make them much larger, whatever you would like to do, and you can move them around. One last important thing. If you have it highlighted like I do here, and you hit Command C if you're on a Mac, and I was to go to another one of my boards, and then I hit paste, you can copy and paste them pretty easily if you didn't want to keep recreating them. So I wanted to pause there and see if there were any questions about how to use Jamboard. We will send you the link in the Zoom chat for the breakout room that you are in. And then the main thing you're going to need to be doing is creating sticky notes. So I wanted to pause and see if there's any questions people had about how to use Jamboard. Okay. I tried to keep it as simple as possible, just because I know I was just having internet issues a minute ago. Tried to keep it as simple as possible. And what we will be doing is going through 2 activities, coming back together, giving some quick instruction, and then going back into the next 2 activities. So I just showed this a minute ago. It is on the Jamboard slide, but the first activity that we're going to be doing is talking about assets. Some people don't like the term assets. I think of it as, what would you be willing to share with a group of fellow researchers, economic development professionals, entrepreneurs, finance people, government folks that are joining us today? What would you be willing to share to potentially help a project move forward? So for example, if we had some really specific great research around copepods, and there was some researchers in there that said, I have this great research, and then you had somebody else who said, you know, I've been looking to create a technology that would solve a particular issue with copepods, which I just learned what copepods were about a week and a half ago, then you would want to share any particular assets you might have to move that particular opportunity forward. Again, it's willing what you would like to share with the group. And I'm going to go back really quickly to the Jamboard one last time. So as I mentioned, we're doing 2 activities. The first one is silent brainstorming of assets that you're willing to share. And then the next one is we're going to group the assets. People are going to share them out quickly, and then you're going to group them like with like. So all the capital assets will go generally on that particular square, social assets, skills assets, etc. Then we're going to pull you back together and do 2 more activities. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if there's no question, if there's any questions, happy to answer them right now. If there's no questions, I would ask Connor to open up their breakout rooms so that people can select the breakout rooms that they would like to go to. So for those of you who are not familiar, on the bottom of your Zoom black screen, there is a button. It should be the 3rd or 4th one over that says breakout rooms. When you click on that, 4 opportunities or 4 breakout rooms will pop up. Again, balancing environment and risk and possibility, advancing the Arctic economy, ensuring human security, and technological gaps and opportunities. So you can choose whichever you would like to go into. Go ahead and select that and join that breakout room.